Well, it seems like every woodworker makes a cutting board at one time or another, and well, actually I think every woodworker makes a cutting board video at one time or another too. The best video for you to watch, of course, is Mark's, the Wood Whisperer. He has a great cutting board video that goes through all of the detailed procedures on making a cutting board. I think he also made a clock too. Then Jeremy Grainer over at 1024studios.com sent me a copy of some software he's developed called Cutting Board Designer and asked me if I would check it out. And using that program, I was able to design and build my very first cutting board, and it went really easily. So in this video, I want to show you a little bit about Cutting Board Designer and then take you through some of the basic procedures on making your own cutting board. Now on Jeremy's website, he's got a couple of videos that give you some really detailed walkthroughs of how to use the software. But essentially what you do is you open it up and you just start building panels, and so you can select the types of wood that you're going to use and you start laying them up. And so this would be your first panel glue up, and mine's going to look something like that. Then comes the really fun part, is where you get this visual representation of what each of your slices will look like after you've done your initial glue up. So you start spreading out your slices like this, and then you can just start flipping those slices around and seeing, what kind of patterns you can develop. And once you've got your board all laid out the way that you like it, what you can do is just generate a set of very detailed building instructions that you can just print out and take into the shop with you. And having these instructions really takes the guesswork out of how long to make your boards. You may be wondering why it tells me I need to cut my boards 44 1/8 inch long. It's because the length of the boards is what's going to determine the thickness of your cutting board. In my case, I'm going with 1.5 inches thick, so it's a pretty beefy board, so these have to be long, but you'll see more about how that works out here in a second. So now I can refer to this materials list, which has done all of the math for me, and it's grouped all of my cuts that I'll need to make according to the type of wood, walnut, maple, and cherry. And it tells me exactly how wide I need to cut each board, how many of each of those boards, and it even allows for the extra 1/8 inch that you'll lose from the kerf of your saw. Now I've got all of my boards ripped down to their correct widths, and all I need to do is refer to my instructions, and it tells me the order that I need to place them in. I've set up all of the boards on some pipe clamps, and now I'll just tip them over on their sides. Now I'll just tip them all over and start clamping it up. I've got this loosely clamped in, and now I'll take a couple of boards. I put some packing tape on there so the glue won't stick to it, and now I'll clamp those together to flatten it out. So I've planed this and sanded it nice and smooth. Now comes the easy part. All I need to do is chop this up into equal sized pieces. Now again, I can refer to my instructions, and it tells me how many slices I'm going to need to make. In my case, this is going to be 27 slices, and it tells me, of course, the width of each one is 1.5, and that will be the thickness of the cutting board. So with all these pieces cut out, all I need to do is turn them on their sides, exposing the end grain, which will go on top. Now the next thing I need to do, which will give it its pattern, is every other board I'll just flip around. Now I've taken my boards and I've put them all down flat again, and I'm just going to put some glue on all of them and spread it out. Now I can just start tipping them over and gluing them together. And then before I clamp it down tight, I've just got a board. I'm going to try to line these up as best as I can. I'll probably have to tweak it here in a second. And like before, I'm going to clamp down some boards to flatten it out. So you should be getting a lot of squeeze out of that glue, which is good. That means that you've covered it all completely. If there's one thing I've learned about making a cutting board, well, there's a couple of things I've learned, but the main thing is it's a lot of sanding. The other thing is I wish I had spent a little bit more time lining these all up a little bit better. You can see that it's not really even on this stripe here, but it's not bad for my first try. Well, I think I sanded good enough, and now I can go ahead and finish it, and I'm just going to use mineral oil on it and just rub it all in. And so there's my very first cutting board, and I don't think it turned out half bad. If I had any advice to give on making cutting boards, it would be to really pay attention to detail when you're lining up all of the pieces. I wish I had spent a little bit more time doing that, and it wouldn't have been quite so wacky on there. But I'm pretty happy with it, and this is going to see a lot of use. I highly suggest you check out Cutting Board Designer. There's actually a free demo you can download and check it out. The software is only 10 bucks, and if you're going to build a cutting board and you're going to buy the wood for it, even if you're only going to build one cutting board, I think that $10 is well worth the price, because I don't think I could have laid out something like this on my own. So it's a lot of fun to play with. So thanks, Jeremy, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.